Welcome to Center Hice Productions. It is December 22nd. It is the afternoon after at the hockey game when Montreal went into Minnesota. Please first hit the likes and subscribe down below in your right-hand corner. It would be muchly appreciated. Thank you. And so this is a review exactly as it says of last night's game. Unfortunately, usually I know I get the game out there immediately after the game. However, it was a little late and I had an appointment to be up for, so I had to postpone it a bit. And of course, then today I had an appointment, and so now we're running it now. So thank you for your patience with me. Thank you to my followers. I appreciate it, especially this time of year. I'm hoping everybody has a great Christmas. We're only 3 days away. But anyway, Habs went to Minnesota, and Minnesota for quite some time. I think it's like I know it was the I want to say 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. They've had our number. The Wilds have had the Habs number for quite some time. We haven't been able to win in Minnesota, especially. Um, I wasn't expecting much. However, game started, and we played respectable. It was a half decent game the way it was going. Now, when they came out and scored 2 goals, it was looking pretty darn scary, to be honest. It was like, oh, here we go again. But to see the resiliency of the Habs, and they fought back their way back into this game, that I got to say, this is a loss that is a learning curve. Put that, file it in the cabinet, and you chalk it up as this is a great learning block, and they did quite well. It's not over. It's not a huge negativity now. Maybe if we started off a little better. However, you know, it seemed to be unfortunately, David Savard was, for us, he was just phenomenal. He played a great game. Yes, unfortunately, I hate to say it looked like him and Matheson were on for the goals. However, he personally had a great game. I was quite pleased with our defense overall. Um, Really, I think the weakest link for me, anyway, was Matheson, and that was only in the defensive zone. Other than that, and Barron had slight moments better than what he's had, though. So he did play better. Gooley played much better. Struble was had some shaky moments. They weren't major. They weren't outrageously, but you could tell he was just a touch shaky. But he still played well. Um, Kovacevic played all right as well, and so overall it was penalties is something that we got to stop taking. That's for sure. We get ourselves in a lot of trouble. Anyway, here we go. We're going to go to the game. I'm going to give you the stats, and we'll talk more. Okay, so the final score was amazingly 4-3 for the Wild in overtime. This is quite. Montreal can hold their heads up for this one. I was quite impressed with the way they played. This was a half decent game. It had some moments where it could have seemed a bit dull to some people. However, both teams were playing fairly. They had come out there. The first period was theirs. There's no and ifs and buts. We were a little shaky there looking in the first period. You had to come up with more shots. We came up with barely any shots. I think it was somewhere around 3 to 6 shots, I believe. Anyway, we'll get more into the stats, but you can't come out like that when the other team's firing 13 or so shots at you. It's just, you're not going to win with that recipe. So we did come out much better in the second. So 4-3 overtime victory for the Wild, but we did play well. So Minnesota comes out in the first period, and it looks gloomy. It's 2 goals in the first period. Montreal manages to get themselves back in the game with a goal, with a nice little goal there as well. Savard. And I think Savard was making up for an error he made early. I think it was on the penalty he took. I think he realized because we got burnt on it. So I think this was his way of saying, okay, I got to make up for that one, and that's what I really appreciate Savard's game for the fact that he gives you 110. I wish his wheels he was faster because this would be a no brainer that you'd never want to let him go. That's my the only knock you can have against him because the rest of his game is actually and his heart and effort is just beyond. So good leader. So anyway, the Habs can manage to come back with a goal by Savard in the second period. No goals for Minnesota. Then we got to the third. We managed to tie this thing up. They had scored as well, and it was great to see because Suzuki finally scored, and it was a nice shot by Slav. And Slav had a very strong game. The first line played very well last night. I got no qualms about. I mean, even little Caulfield in his defensive end, he was taking the body real well for a little guy. That line was looking really sharp. It was easily our best line last night, in my opinion. Straightforward. Evans' line was fairly good as well. It was all right, right? Okay, so anyway, then we get to the third period. We score 2 goals. They score a goal. We're headed to OT. And then, of course, in overtime, they put us away. And Gustafsson was in nets for them. I think this is his first win against the Habs. And Montembeault was in nets for us. Back that up. Why did that do that? Oh, my apologies. Bear with me. I lost my signal here in my read-ups. I don't know why that happens. However, sometimes it does. And so it was a very, very solid game all the way around. I was quite pleased with the Habs. Great effort put out, um, for the majority of the squad. All right, so here we go. We're going to give you a bit of a feel for Kirill Kaprizov scores with 4.9 seconds remaining in OT. We were close to going to a shootout as the Wild win over the Montreal Canadiens in Thursday night's game. Kaprizov took a pass from Marcus Johansson and beat Canadiens goalie Sam Montembeault to help the Wild avoid a shootout. And it was Kaprizov's third goal in 2 games. He's been, he's a class act anyway, scoring 2 goals against Boston on Thursday. This is happening again. Sorry, my apologies. Don't understand why this is happening, but it is. So that's pretty much that. He gets the winner. I'm not going to read much more of that. M. Rossi had a strong game for them. He was the first star of the game. 1 goal, 2 assists with a +2. Faber for them was the second star, 1-1, +1. And Kirill Kaprizov was 1-2 with a +3, so he was the third star. So first, we're going to give you the scoring summary. 13-19 in the first period. Matt Boldly scores, assisted by Kaprizov and Marco Rossi on the power play. And this is our penalty kill is just, we can't take penalties. And I believe this is where Savard took a penalty. Yeah, it would have been. And then 14:54, Marco Rossi again involved. This guy had a really solid game, assisted by Zach Bogosian and Marcus Foligno. So there you go. You got it 15-14, and then we're going into the second period. It's 2-0. And then David Savard at 8:17 in the second period, assisted by Caulfield, and Nick Suzuki gets a goal. And like I said, Savard had a really strong game. Third period, Nick Suzuki scores, assisted by Slavkovsky and Matheson on the power play. It was a nice goal. And that's the catch. There was Slav actually taking a shot on the power play, and the goalie not a rebound coming out, and you had Suzuki right in the right place, and that. So he's starting to just to know that you don't have to slap it. Just and he took a wrist shot. Uh, just as long as it's a good shot, and you got traffic in front of the net, and that's what happened. The rebound came out, and there was Suzuki waiting for it and buried it. And so, really good goal. This was a good goal, and that line was just played really strong for us last night. I can't knock anybody on it. Then at 8:57, Brock Faber scores, assisted by Kirill Kaprizov, assisted by Marco Rossi on the power play again. And this is the thing, you sit there, and at that point you were thinking, "Oh, this is over." You're thinking now we're doomed. And then it's 16:57. Uh, Slavkovsky scores with a nice deflection from a shot from Denny Savard, assisted by Mike Matheson. Pretty goal in the third. So these were third period goals. And so the game stayed tied, and this was, a very, you can't hang your head down in this one. They hung in there with Minnesota, and this is a good veteran squad. Not as good as talented as they were in the past, but they're a good, solid veteran squad, and they always play us hard. So then we get into overtime, 4:55. Kirill Kaprizov scores. Marcus Johansson gets an assist, and Faber gets an assist. Final shots, 25-24. We actually outshot them by one, but they definitely have a lot of crisp, very, they've got some good talent on the front end, veteran wise. Then the hits were 17-13 for them. This was a bit of a got chippy at moments. There were some chippy moments in this game. Face-offs 27-28 in favor of us. Power play 1 for 5, so we got a little colder on the power play. They got 2 for 6. Yeah, kind of balances a bit, but still, that's what did us in a lot of ways. Penalty minutes 19-25. We were slightly more disciplined, but enough of our discipline not being there was, even though they were a little more less disciplined, uh, we paid the price for ours. All right. So giveaways 6 for the Habs, 11 for them. 2 takeaways for the Habs, 8 for them, and 14 block shots by the Habs and 11 for them. Penalty minutes. Savard took the first period penalty for roughing. And then Montreal got, when they challenged an offside call for one of Minnesota's goals, Marty challenged it. It came up that the goal was good. There was no offside in it. So Brendan Gallagher served that at 15:54. Then, of course, they always make us pay. Second period, Benny Letteri gets a penalty at 6:07, 2 minutes for tripping. Josh Anderson at 8:52 gets a 2 minute for interference. Mike Rossi 2 minutes for, and he was much smaller. There was a nice fight there with Rossi and my boy Gooley, and but it wasn't really much in the sense that Gooley just took it to him, and again, size difference, so you couldn't, even though he clearly easily win for Gooley, but he definitely had a sore hand. You could see him icing it when he was in the penalty box. But big move for a guy who is not a fighter on Minnesota. He stood up for Kaprizov, his star, and that's quite something to see. But they did get the extra 2 minutes. He got the extra 2 minutes for instigating it as well. So that as well, Caden Gooley got 5, just like Rossi. But Vinny Leterrier served the extra 2 minutes. Then we had Marco Rossi take another one. Well, I guess they gave him a 10-minute misconduct. That's what they gave him, yeah, for that as well. So, interesting. Brendan Gallagher serves a penalty, 2 minutes for tripping, 12:22. Zach Bogosian. Uh, this was another one, roughing, and it looked almost. Bogosian gave him a few punches. I'm kind of shocked that they didn't partially consider this a fight because Bogosian gave him several punches. So I like I said again, and that's a mismatch because Bogosian's a big boy. He definitely out muscled Galley, but Galley didn't even take his gloves off, so that was the bonus there. Mike Matheson took a very crucial penalty, 2 minutes for interference, and Foligno at 15:07, and Foligno took one at 19:30, which was a big boarding hit on Barron, and this is starting to become a problem in the league. These hits from behind, but it's also a combination. That one there was more of a hit from behind, though, whereas the one that happened to him over the previous weekend was more on him making himself a little vulnerable. But what a big hit, and Foligno is a tough customer. It was a clean hit, but I didn't like the way his head went into the boards. I actually thought if you're following the rules and regulations of the NHL's with nailing somebody's numbers in the head from behind, I almost thought he should have had much more, uh, should have served more or be thrown out. That's my opinion, just because, you got to follow. You can't just keep flip flopping as referees on what you're going to call. That was, normally I would have put it on. Our guys tend to put themselves in that predicament, but that was clearly, and it was a hard one, and his head went into the boards of his neck. I was concerned, but he shook it off. Period 3, Yoel Armia takes a penalty for holding. Cole Caulfield takes one for cross-checking, which was, quite a joke in calls. So the officiating to me was something to be left to be desired. I wasn't too overly impressed with the calls. A lot of these calls were really and missed calls, kind of a combination. But however, they won the game. It was a good game, good solid game. Both teams played well, and we hung in and we played respectable. So nothing to hang your heads up. Now we got Chicago tonight, and it's going to be interesting. I'm assuming that we're going to see Primo in the net. Is what I'm assuming because I think we should have seen uh, Primo last night. By the way, we were rotating, but however, they put Monty in there immediately. So kind of switched up the rotation a bit. So I'm expecting to see Primo tonight. We should be able to squeak, although it's a back-to-back, and we better be thinking, the Habs better be. I mean, I could care less. I'd like to see us get closer to the bottom and get a good draft. So for me, it doesn't matter. For them, the way they're working with their culture and wanting some wins, it's a win they have to take because this West Coast road trip is going to kill them. This is going to be a big road trip of a lot of superior teams. It's not just the West. I think they got Tampa too. Yeah, the Tampa, Florida. There's a lot of really good, solid teams coming up after Chicago, and I really don't foresee them. I foresee this being the game out of. I think they got like 6 or 7 games on the road, or coming up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's road trip. So we played game 1. And I really think that was our last night and tonight were our best chances to win. So we better capitalize. They better. At least we should see an entertaining game and see Bedard again. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires. But a good solid game. I was happy to see it. And you're going to notice there's some changes here. I've managed to new camera system and stuff, and using the PC instead of laptops. So, a lot of switching gear here. So, thank you for joining me. The Puck Drops First here at Center Ice Productions. And I'm again hoping everybody has a great Christmas, but you will see me with another video tonight to review the Blackhawks game before the holidays. Thank you for joining me. Leave your comments. Tell me what you thought of the game. I thought it was a very respectable game. I was very pleased. And thank you for joining me. Tell your friends and family, and just keep your comments respectable. I enjoy reading them. Thanks again, and we will catch you in the next episode. God bless.